So, the chances of Trump using a nuke against Iran have gone up significantly. Let's watch a video about that.
Yeah, so tell me more about Trump nuking Iran, please.
That is the topic of today. Like and subscribe.
Well, I do believe that that is going to happen. I think that we're beyond the rhetoric.
Yay.
Hope that it won't. I do believe that it will.
Okay, wow, okay. I thought you got...
Yeah, that's the place where we are, where all the commentators I watch are either he's going to do it or he might do it. No one is saying he won't do it. As for me, I'm having PTSD to 6 months ago, right before the Iran war, where I was just saying, there is no way Trump is stupid enough to bomb Iran's supreme leader. That'll be committing political suicide. It would wreck the global economy. The Strait of Hormuz would be closed. Nothing could be worse. Surely Trump isn't that stupid. Yet he is. He did it. He bombed Iran's supreme leader. That's how I view this nuke option. Yeah, it would be absolutely stupid. It would be as stupid to nuke Iran as it was to bomb the supreme leader. Trump has already established that he's willing to be that stupid. I can't say that he'll be rational because he's been irrational before on something of equal importance. I hate it.
Tell me, the extreme statement that people are making is they say that they do believe Trump wants to do this. But you're going a step further by saying you think not Trump wants to do this, but I think some sort of nuclear weapon will actually be used against Iran.
It's not just a matter of some type. I'm quite certain it'll be the B-63 Delta variants of the already existing gravity advanced nuclear bomb that we have in the area of responsibility in U.S. Central Command. So when you think, well, it's not just Turkey. So when you think about the...
So we even know what type of bomb that's going to be used.
The armament of the U.S. nuclear triad, we also maintain a quite robust armament of tactical nuclear weapons. The B-61 variant, in some locations, we still have the older B-61, and in some locations, it's not that it's not that scary looking. It's this is the B-61 right here on its.
Okay, this is what might be used
on its carriage.
It looks tiny. It looks like it would maybe destroy one car.
The warhead is about 700 pounds. On the entire fuselage of the bomb itself, it's the same body that we use in the GBUs of the 2,000-pound bombs that Israel drops on Gaza every day. So when you consider that, and oh, by the way, the newer variant of the B-63 was just tested in March at White Sands Missile Range, WSMR as they call it. I've been there many times testing munitions, but this is the B-61 tactical nuke, upgraded with the new B-63 variant that we just re-equipped certain locations with, and this is the F-35 dropping it. I mean, so that's
what this will look like.
That's this past March. So when you consider the tactical nuclear weapons that we have in the theater, we have about 20 of them in Germany. We've got about 22 of them sitting between the Netherlands and Belgium. We've got about 50 of them in Turkey. We've moved some to Romania. We've got about 70 of them sitting in Italy and in Aviano Air.
Yeah, all these nukes all around Europe. Yes, litters the world with its nukes.
Base and Gedi Tora Air Base. And when you consider where they can be moved quickly, how they can be put onto an F-35, a very good armament specialist, a weapons grade rated weapons specialist can put that onto this and switch out that armament in about 8 minutes. So, this is not a hard process.
Anthony, you're saying this is a nuke?
That is the B-61 tactical nuke.
It's wild they can pack it into such a small body.
When people often think of the talk of a nuclear weapon, we think about
B-61 tactical nuke. Okay, well, it creates a big, big hole. I don't know if it's enough to go through a mountain, though, but it's a nuke.
About World War II of Little Boy and the Fat Man.
Yeah.
These nuclear weapons that come out of Los Alamos under the most strict secrecy, loaded onto an
Yeah, Eggman wins against Trump.
aircraft, dropped, and then caused the explosions as they did. This is not the. Remember, in the last time we used a nuclear weapon, we did not have tactical nuclear weapon options. We had mutually assured destruction nuclear weapons, which then became part of the nuclear triad. When Trump threatens of a nuclear weapon being used against Iran, we're not talking the triad nuclear armament. We're talking.
By the way, Russia doesn't have any tactical nukes. Like, its smallest nukes are bigger than Hiroshima. And we established the precedence of using nukes in combat. It's one of those big nukes that might be dropped on Ukraine.
Talking about a tactical nuke. The tactical nuclear weapon that we just showed that looks seemingly benign and small and just like anything else that can be dropped from an F-35 or an F-15 or an F-16, which we have in theater, which we have ready to go, which we have the munitions available, which we have upgraded their PCLs or their protection code links, meaning they have been updated to then be dropped from an F-35 already. All of that has happened. It is all primed and ready. The President of the United States has said, just in the last 2 weeks, that if Iran does not come to the negotiating table or come with a deal soon, that we will unleash a weapon that has not been seen since World War II. It's pretty clear what that is.
Yeah, that is pretty clear what that is. Fuck you, Trump, if you're thinking of doing this.
We now have Marjorie Taylor Greene, from her connections within the intelligence community, from her former position within the U.S. House of Representatives in the United States Congress, that is being discussed. We also know that there was a direct confrontation between the United States Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, General Dan Kane, and President Donald Trump on the specific use of a nuclear weapon, and there was some pushback on that. We know that.
Yes, U.S. population is going to protest so much on the hypocrisy for using a nuke to stop a country from having nukes. Exactly. It undermines the entire U.S. position. And when you have a bully like the United States that's willing to preemptively use nukes for whatever reason it wants, yeah, you need nukes yourself.
That in between that time, between what we know now and what happened then, that there was also some heated debate at Camp David when Donald Trump brought together the U.S. Central Command Commander, the Chairman of the Joint Chiefs, Pete Hegseth, Marco Rubio, and others. So the characters in the room in terms of the military, Donald Trump and Pete Hegseth have fired every general officer in theater that maintains tactical control of these nuclear weapons, meaning General Charlie Costanza, fired last week. General Chris Donahue, fired last month. These are the commanders.
Isn't that reassuring? Firing of the commanders that might have been able to stop this.
That would be giving Hegseth and Trump input through the chairman on the potential deployment of these nuclear weapons. I am confident that we have deployed at least 4 out of U.S. EUCOM.
If Trump bombs Iran with a nuke, you're going to have a half of America is absolutely furious, and the other half is going to be confused. I'm talking about the confused half is the Asmongold's of the world. You know, his audience. It's like, we won this war. Why are we nuking Iran after winning? I thought we were completely winning. You don't drop a nuke on a country you've beaten. You have Trump going, people that believe Trump when he says we beat Iran are going to be so confused that we suddenly have to drop a nuke on them. If we're winning, why are we dropping nukes on them? Yeah, it would be entertaining in that way to watch, but I hope we'd never see it.
To U.S. Central Command, and that they are on aircraft ready to go. I'm very confident of that. And as you saw from a picture of the F-35 dropping it, and from where it sits on its carriage before it's loaded into the bomb bay of an F-35 or an F-15 or an F-16, it's ready. And I do think that Donald Trump will use it.
All right, so I've got a lot of questions. First, if you compare this one, the one that we saw, the first one.
Reassuring, that this guy's reassuring, right? Anthony Aguilar. Very happy person. Great at a party.
The smaller one, the tactical nuke. How how does it compare to the little boy in terms of the impact that it could have and the amount of ordnance or the amount of whatever indicator you could use to compare them and the impact they have? Can
Tons of TNT is what is usually used, I think.
you make some comparisons on what that would do to Iran?
So that's a great question, because the important part of talking about a nuclear weapon is the yield. Right? That's the value, the return on investment, if you will, or the value proposition of utilizing a nuclear weapon, is that it's the yield. The nuclear fallout, in fact, is a consequence that nobody wants. But that's the consequence of having something that's small that you can wipe out something very large, meaning when we used it in Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Now, tactical nuclear weapons, you can gauge the yield in terms of kilotons of explosive. Now, comparing the B-61 or the B-63 and how much the warhead which warhead is placed upon it, then determines its yield. So when you're comparing it to a World War II bomb, such as the Little Boy or the Fat Man or Little Boy, with the one was fission, one was fusion. They both had different yields. One was more explosive than the other. One we dropped and we said, wow, that was kind of what we expected. Let's drop this other one that we've been testing at Los Alamos. That's fission, to see what that does. Oh my God, that's world-ending type of stuff. So this is not what you get from the tactical nuke. In fact, if a tactical nuclear weapon were dropped on Pickaxe Mountain, based on the geography of Iran and the Zagros mountain range and the valley of which Pickaxe Mountain is in, there may not be worldwide nuclear fallout, nuclear cloud, end of the world type of stuff. In fact, most people may not even know that it's been dropped.
Maybe not worldwide, but I definitely think there'd be some regional contamination.
Until someone says something. We fire the Minuteman III missile out of our silos out of California into the Pacific in places like Bikini Bottom.
Besides, not noticing the explosion, that's one thing. There's maybe, 5 years later, I have cancer. That's the other part. You might not notice it till you get cancer. But, yeah. Radioactive fallout stays active for 10,000 years or more. And it goes everywhere. Because a nuke is explosive. It spreads the material.
Bikini Atoll, where SpongeBob SquarePants lives under the sea, underneath the Bikini Atoll. It's called that for a reason. We fire nukes at that all the time to test them, low yield, to make sure our Minuteman IIIs are working. And the world hasn't ended. So will Donald Trump use a...
No, but a lot of people around the world got lung cancer from all those tests.
Tactical nuclear weapon, the B-63 Alpha, on Pickaxe Mountain, or maybe Isfahan. I think likely Pickaxe Mountain to get the intent of what he's trying to achieve here. And that's a way out. Will Donald Trump use it? I'm confident that he will. I'm confident that it'll be a B-63A, and I'm confident that it'll likely come out of an F-35 or an F-15 Strike Eagle 2 package, because that's what we have ready. That's what we know can get in and get out. And that's what we know will work.
And he suggests it's going to happen before the midterms, which I think is doubly stupid of Trump, because it's not going to help Republicans in the midterm. But he's pitching it as, Trump sees it as his exit strategy. He can just nuke Pickaxe Mountain and call it a win. But that won't work. It's as stupid as bombing Supreme Leader. It won't produce a win for Trump. It'll just double the losses.
What is the chain of command in case Trump wants to use a tactical nuke? Because I would assume many in his administration would not be okay with it. How much influence or authority do others have, like Kane?
Well, you see, what happens then, Mario, is those people say, on the record, I'm against this, Mr. President. And Trump says, okay, fine. Okay, go ahead, launch a nuke. And that's how it works. They can't actually stop him. They can just say, on the record, I'm against this.
Kane or Cooper or people like Mark.
So here's the great question, right? In terms of the tales of two generals, or the admirals and the generals, right? Dan Kane has been very conservative in his approach to this conflict. You hear his talking points when he's standing next to Pete Hegseth at the podium, when the when Secretary Hegseth gives his comments and his bluster and his bravado, and Dan Kane tries to remain more measured and conservative in his approach, because that's the way he is. He's an intellectual. He understands warfare. He himself was an F-15 Strike Eagle pilot. So, I mean, one of his mission sets as a pilot in his days of 05 and below, before he became a general officer, one of his mission sets would have been the possible employment of the earlier variant of the B-61. So he understands that mission. I think he has been very against this. However, the president is surrounded in a cabinet of Pete Hegseth, who I think has been very war hawkish.
Pete Hegseth, I think, would go along with nuking Iran because he's as tied to this Iran war as Trump is. We don't talk about Hegseth very often, but my God, he's if the U.S. loses to Iran, all the blame that doesn't go onto Trump is going on to Hegseth. He's the one who pushed for this with Netanyahu. He's the Secretary of War, and Secretary of War that loses a war. Yeah. So he'd probably be just as desperate as Trump to use anything possible to turn this loss into a win, or to try to turn this loss into a win.
Looking at how to empower U.S. Central Command for a military solution, Admiral Brad Cooper. I think Admiral Brad Cooper is very much, the U.S. Here he is, the commander of U.S. Central Command, is very much war hawkish. He has said to the president, "Give me the missiles, and I will continue the strikes." We now have the EUCOM commander, Air Force 4-star General Alexis Gengovich, saying no. Well, what did Pete Hegseth do? He fired his two commanders, Army General Charlie Costanza and Army.
So, if we think of it from the perspective of all those who were saying no to nukes got fired, that's not reassuring at all. It's terrifying.
General Chris Donahue. They fell within that chain of command. So, in terms of the chain of command, for the president of the United States to use to employ the mutually assured destruction triad, the president maintains that sole authority. He carries a thing every day. A military aide carries something that's called the nuclear football. Inside the nuclear football is the machine that puts out the biscuit. The biscuit has the gold codes, of which allows the president to then activate the nuclear triad. Tactical nuclear weapons are employed and deployed and authorized under a different chain of command.
Yeah, that's something I knew. It's a problem. That means the nukes that go out of silos, the big nukes, those are the ones who use the codes. But tactical nukes, you saw them. They're in warehouses across Europe. And the process they're activated and deactivated is different.
Could the president authorize it? Sure. With the authority of the secretary, could a geographic combatant commander like a Brad Cooper authorize and use it? Yes. What I firmly believe, based on my experience in understanding Donald Trump's approach to warfare, having worked with Admiral Brad Cooper in days when he was not yet the CENTCOM commander, in looking at this problem set and the fact that this president desperately wants a way out. And we've seen that the return to diplomacy in the continuum of conflict is controlled by Iran, not by the United States. Desperate men in power do desperate things. And I think we're at that point.
Oh, right now, Trump is probably at the point of peak desperation. 6 months, he hasn't been able to fix this Iran war problem that he has. Now the midterms are 3 months away. And it looks like Republicans might get crushed if diesel prices carry on in their current trajectory, hitting all-time highs. You can see gas prices hit all-time highs before the election. Americans don't like all-time gas prices at those all-time highs. They're very against it. It's hurting him at the polls. Yeah, he's desperate.
So in terms of
how would a tactical nuke, Anthony, be able to get him out? If he wants to get out, a tactical nuke seems to... Iran would not yield if he uses a tactical nuke, and it would cause him bigger issues, politically bigger issues for his legacy.
Well, to answer you, Mario, he thinks it will make them yield. Like he thought bombing their supreme leader will cause regime change. There are people around Trump, most likely, convincing him, drop a nuke. It'll make them yield. And to someone who's as desperate as Trump, He can delude himself into thinking, I'll just nuke them and I'll win the war that way, and that's how I'll go back to being a great president. I won't be a president that lost to Iran because I'll nuke them.
I see bigger issues for the US economically, bigger issues all around. He'd probably, I don't even know if the House would accept it.
The House wouldn't have to.
By the way, if this happens, Iran takes out all the oil infrastructure in the Gulf. Any nuke dropped on Iran takes the gloves off, and you see Shahed drones like raining down on oil refineries and oil infrastructure in all the Gulf states. And then we're royally fucked.
No, I mean, it would accept the consequences of it. Like, would accept that new reality. So I just think that he'll be facing so many negative consequences for his actions that not only will he continue being stuck in the war, but he would become a global pariah along with the United States if he uses a tactical nuke. So I just don't think it solves any problem. And what objectives are going to achieve if he strikes pickaxe?
And Russia and China, they're not going to stand by and do nothing in this scenario. If Trump goes nuclear, you're going to China might get involved in the conflict in Iran. It depends how many nukes Trump uses, where he uses the nukes. That depends really on what the response from Russia and China will be. It's one nuke on Pickaxe Mountain. There will be a big change in relationships all across the world. The United States will become a pariah. If there's several nukes that are dropped, might have either Russia or China actually declare war on America.
Mountain. So what? That was never part of the objective. The objective right now is just to open the Strait of Hormuz, at least in my view. And that's not going to do it.
Yes, Mario. And again, going back to the war objectives of what the President of the United States, Pete Hegseth, and Marco Rubio sold to the American public what this war was for. Was the Strait of Hormuz ever mentioned on February 28th or March 2nd? No.
Yeah, but I think they don't. But they don't mention it because
you're talking because it wasn't an objective, right?
Yeah,
but it is an objective. But it's an objective. How do we achieve that objective militarily? We can't. And again, it goes back to the story. And this is why the reason I think this is not because I'm just thinking that Donald Trump's like, oop, nuclear option. I've thought through in terms of, okay, the Strait of Hormuz. How do we leverage that through diplomacy? We can't anymore. Iran owns that diplomatic pathway.
It does.
And they're not giving in. Part of this is Iran's staunch defiance.
I think they either captured another ship, either today or yesterday. I forget which one it was. So, they're still exerting their control over the waterway.
So, how then do we leverage a military advantage in the Strait of Hormuz? Well, let's consider the options. Right now, according to the U.S. Naval Institute and their official homepage in terms of what's going where, we know this already. We have the USS George Washington is underway to go replace the USS Abraham Lincoln. The USS Abraham Lincoln is 44 years old in its design. It's been at sea as long as we've been alive. It's old, and it's getting replaced.
The U.S. has a legacy military. Nah, most of it is just old, built when the United States still had a manufacturing sector.
With the USS George Washington, which is also a Nimitz class, which was the Nimitz class carrier that was put to sea just after the Lincoln. We're not talking about the latest and greatest in technology and the capability to do so. We're also not producing the precision strike munitions to do anything to change the calculus, while Iran and Oman are on the precipice of coming to a deal, while Donald Trump is now threatening to bomb Oman because of that deal. The military outlook is not feasible for the United States. And oh, by the way, as the USS George Washington is about to approach the area of responsibility to replace the Lincoln, the other one that we have there holding down the front, so to speak, is the USS George Bush, which is also a Nimitz-class carrier. It's 44 years old in design. It cannot meet the demand of what is needed against this asymmetric threat. And the USS Benfold, it's the DDG-65, the primary destroyer that goes along with the George Washington, is behind in getting out there because it had to go to port in Subic Bay to fix its electric and its air conditioning system. Wow. So this little guy right here that's supposed to be the destroyer to protect this thing isn't out there yet because it's getting its AC repaired.
That's embarrassing. Our ability to maintain and refit ships has been so degraded with time in the United States.
That's where we stand in terms of the naval capability. So Donald Trump is
I
now
see the toilets as well. We're not
Yeah.
working.
the plumbing,
for a period
the
of time,
AC.
CNN, the
God
plumbing,
forbid
the
we
AC.
have another laundry room fire. So
And not even a functioning potable water system either.
that's right.
But just quickly, how again, you're mentioning all problems that are all accurate. I just don't see how a tactical nuke would solve it in Trump's mind.
So well, solve it. It will not. In
Nope.
Trump's mind, that's a different discussion. Trump is not a rational.
You have military commanders that are telling Trump we can't hit Iran anymore with precision missiles. And Trump is demanding, well, I want to hit Iran. What do we have? And we have nukes. Well, then use nukes.
Actor in this conflict. The world is starting to second guess and question everything that comes out of the mouth of the president of the United States.
Yes, because Trump keeps saying, stupidly, unbelievably, we've won this war. We're completely winning. We control the Strait of Hormuz. When everyone can see that's not true. Anyone with half a brain. Sorry, Asmongold, you're in this category right now. You're the half a brain crowd that thinks we actually won in Iran. But anyone who is looking at, is hearing the state of our Navy, just seeing the actual facts on the ground in that Iran has closed the Strait of Hormuz and we can't open it. Yeah, U.S. lost this war.
Will using a tactical nuclear weapon against Iran at, say, Pickaxe Mountain solve anything in terms of changing anything in reality? It will not.
Nope.
However, Donald Trump has said from the beginning, and the reason is we're hearing the crescendo of the normal talking point of
It gives Trump one line, he'll be able to say, well, I stopped Pickaxe Mountain. I took out Pickaxe Mountain. We couldn't let them have the nuke. I did all this to stop Iran from having a nuke. And yes, I sacrificed the world economy, the U.S. economy, a lot of U.S. lives, and I lost a war. I gave Iran control Strait of Hormuz, but it was all for the good cause of stopping Iran from having a nuke. And I did that by dropping a nuke on Pickaxe Mountain. That's the one line he'll latch on to justify the complete fiasco that has been this Iran war. It won't work, but it will at least give him one line to argue with.
Iran can't have a nuke, Iran can't have a nuke, Iran can't have a nuke. That's starting to hit the Sunday talk shows again, meaning, okay, well, what do we do against that? Donald Trump is now faced with two options for the quintessential objective of this war. Remember, it wasn't the Strait of Hormuz. That's now become a problem we didn't anticipate. So how does he get out? By showing the American public, the base in the world, that Iran will never have a nuke. And that was his objective. I did what Obama couldn't do. I did what Biden wasn't willing to do. The Strait of Hormuz is not our problem. Look, America, despite the fluctuation, we're still doing fine. Most Americans believe that, even though it's not true. How do you then go to influence the base before the midterm elections in November? You show some type of victory. And I'm not saying that that's going to work. I'm not saying it's a good idea.
It won't work.
I do not advocate for it. And I think
The bad press the United States will have from around the world, Trump's base will shrink even more than it currently is.
it's quite foolish. But Donald Trump right now wants a way out of this. And the only way out is to give the perception that there's been a victory. How do you do that militarily?
Not only does it need a way out, but this won't give him a way out, but he's in trouble in that he's heading for an iceberg. If you just look at the price of diesel, this, 1 hour ago, the price of diesel. That's diesel hitting all-time highs right now. And it's not going to stop because you have the Houthis shutting down the Bab el-Mandab Strait. You have Iran shutting down the Strait of Hormuz. So this is only going to get worse for the next 3 months going into the midterms. How does he explain that to the base? Well, he needs something, some talking point to latch onto. He can, when diesel goes up even further, and he can say, well, I stopped their nuclear program. Yes, diesel prices are really high. Yes, this war has been costly. Yes, all the other problems. But at least I stopped their nuclear program. So that made it all worth it. And that will be his argument to the base. Because right now he doesn't even have that argument. Right now, Iran could be building a nuke as fast as it can, and we're not stopping them. The Pickaxe Mountain, they'd be assembling a nuke right under Pickaxe Mountain. And Iran controls the Straits, price of oil is surging. Everything is bad in terms of the Iran war for Trump. But bombing, taking out Pickaxe Mountain, even if it fails to stop Iran from getting a nuke in the long run, short run, before the midterms, it might give him one talking point he can rely on. And so that's why he might use nuke, for one talking point. That won't be enough anyway.
Right now, the only way you can demonstrate a military victory is either you send in ground forces or you use a tactical nuclear weapon. Donald Trump is using this moment. He's portraying it as the Truman moment, the Truman decision in World War II. Do we send our boys and girls, do we send America's sons and daughters, do we send our soldiers and sailors and airmen and Marines into mainland Japan where hundreds and thousands of will die? Or do I, as the president, make the hard decision to use a nuke against what most people would concede? What's the more moral option? And I think that's what Donald Trump has convinced himself as.
Why isn't there something in the middle? Why can't he? You're saying he would use a tactical nuke because it makes for a cool story that he wants.
So in terms of Trump's logic, well, the United States can't lose to Iran. I, Trump, the God Emperor Trump, cannot lose to Iran. So to avoid that, I'd have to send in ground troops. That's what I must do. But if I send in ground troops, thousands of Americans will die. I mean, to prevent, me from being a loser and having lost Iran, I must send in the ground troops. But wouldn't it be more moral than sending thousands of ground troops in to die to then for me to nuke Iran? Wouldn't that be better? All to maintain, try to save his ass politically.
We used everything in the middle, Mario.
But he could use it again. You're using it.
No, Mario, they can't. Honestly, can't. The 40-day war, we basically ran out of precision ammunition. The 2 weeks that added to that was the United States scrounging up and stealing precision weapons from other theaters like the Pacific, Europe, places that couldn't afford to lose them. And then we used all that up. Now, United States just becomes a paper tiger if it uses up more. The threat to Russia of Article 1 disappears entirely if Trump uses more precision munitions. And Taiwan becomes even more vulnerable. No, he can't use more precision missiles. So there's ground troops, there's dumb bombs, which involve losing a lot of planes, captured pilots, horrible optics for Trump, and then there's nukes. And the fourth option is surrender. Those are Trump's options. Ground troops, dumb bombs with lost pilots, horrible optics, nukes, and surrender. Trump is so fucked.
Nuke that we know doesn't work to try to declare victory. Use B2 bomber bunker busters again and say we bunker busted.
Hey, Krill. Well, today we're discussing the odds of Trump nuking Iran. And those odds are disturbingly high. So let's continue the video.
Them again. Now it's completely destroyed. Get some nice satellite images and call it a victory. Trump doesn't need a tactical nuke to create and fabricate a victory. He just needs a good story. Maybe.
No, he does, because Pickaxe Mountains. The media has reported on how deep this is, and no conventional weapons can take out Pickaxe Mountain. The U.S. public knows that. So if he drops conventional bombs on Pickaxe Mountain, the public won't believe it. It accomplishes nothing. Tactical nuke, whether it actually manages to take out Pickaxe Mountain or not, at least he can lie about it and pretend that it might have.
Maybe a bunch of bunker busters on Pickaxe Mountain would be enough for the story. Because a tactical nuke would make for a horrible story. Because it's just Trump used a nuclear weapon. Even what's his name is stupid pro-Israeli, the Zionist guy on TV on Fox News,
Mark Levin.
Even Mark Levin said, even him, crazy Mark Levin said we shouldn't use a nuke. He said it today. He's like he's making comparisons between Iran and Japan and how they need a big hit, one last big hit. But he said, of course, we don't use a nuke.
Well, well, let me make this clear. We shouldn't.
I'm saying,
yeah, Trump has threatened Iran. He said he's going to use a weapon on Iran that hasn't been used since World War II. What else can that be than nukes?
I think Trump knows. If you're talking about his legacy and all this, he knows anyone would tell him, and he would know this is horrible.
Mario, any argument you're trying to make now falls apart because A, Trump bombed the supreme leader, and that was exactly as idiotic a decision as dropping a nuke on Iran. Perfectly. I think I'd say which is stupider. I'd say just about perfect evenness and stupidity. Trump was willing to bomb supreme leader. He is capable of dropping a nuke, 100%. Will it happen? That's not guaranteed. I would like to be able to say there's no chance of that, but Trump bombed Iran's supreme leader, so with that precedence, I just can't.
For his legacy, bunker busters would be enough for a cool story to make up a story.
But remember, Mario, who?
Do I know about Gilded Guy, the Fortnite guy? I do not. If you have a video or something about that later, I would be willing to watch that, find out more. There's so many content creators out there. I can't know them all.
Who's telling him?
Honestly, he doesn't even need to fire bunker busters to come up with a good story. He can start coming up with a story that he fired bunker busters. Even nothing happens. We all look like nothing happened. The IRGC will be like, he didn't fire anything. Satellite.
Mario, the problem is his base is starting to doubt him. So more lies is not the answer to make his base trust him more, which is what you're suggesting. That's the problem. With high diesel prices, this is making his base doubt him. He actually needs something with substance to reassure them that we're winning this war. And the only thing he has is nukes on the winning side, or ground invasion that's a disaster, or dumb bombs that means captured pilots and downed aircrafts. He doesn't have anything good to sell them, but I think out of those three, he might feel that the nuke is the best option.
Images show nothing at all, but he'll just say it enough times that MAGA will believe him, so he doesn't need even bunker busters, let alone tactical
Mario,
nukes.
I think we are now at a position to where when news breaks on this war, the majority of the world waits to hear what Iran says, not what...
It was a character. I made a hilarious joke about him being in Fortnite. It's from Indie Animation because he got a skin in Fortnite and some. So, a Gilded Guy. Well, I'm going to distract myself for 1 second from this entirely depressing subject to search what the hell a Gilded Guy is. Ah, that's it. Oh, it's some indie game. I like the design of Gilded Guy. Probably was a pretty fun indie game. He should be an indie cross. Yeah, that'd be a fun Fortnite skin. I'd get it if I played Fortnite.
What comes out of the president's mouth.
Except the MAGA supporters that Trump cares about, though. They wait for Trump.
And even more and more of that demographic are starting to wake up and say, huh? So again, I
This is called an alarm clock, a wake-up clock, and that's it's ringing very loudly for Trump supporters.
I completely agree with the questions you're asking, and these are the questions that I have asked myself as I go through all these options that the president may have. So the president has the option of do nothing. That has now become incredibly painful for this president, and I think unsurvivable going into the midterms to do nothing.
Exactly. He can't do nothing. He promised to bring prices down. He also promised no new wars. He's already broken that promise. But he also promised to bring prices down. And this is the opposite of bringing prices down. Diesel is what trucks use, and trucks move everything. They move all the goods that go to your stores. They move your Amazon deliveries. Diesel skyrockets, the price of everything goes up. And 3 more months of this going up and up, and prices everywhere going up and up, it's going to absolutely kill Republicans in the midterm, and Trump knows it, and he's desperate to do something. But the only thing that could bring this down is surrendering to Iran, which would be terrible for Trump. So he's not willing to do it.
We know that we have the nuclear tactical nukes. We know that we have them in theater. It's like Donald Trump looking at a shiny sports car and someone telling him you can't drive it. Right? It's there.
What a terrifying analogy.
The keys are in the ignition. And you have a combatant commander, Brad Cooper, who is willing to do it. So who is influencing the president? But then also drop another Moab, another massive ordnance air blast penetrator. Well, America now knows that Operation Midnight Hammer didn't work.
Yeah.
You remember?
Yep.
You remember
Yeah.
that?
Yeah, but
I think the worst thing the administration did was counting its chickens before they hatched in terms of Midnight Hammer. Because remember, the very next day, Dan Kane, in his briefing in the Pentagon, showed the videos of the Moab penetrating.
This is Trump's trouble with regard to Iran. Granite mountains. Even a nuke can't get through the thickest of these, but at least he can pretend like it might have.
Going into the tunnel shafts and blowing up. And everybody's like, wow, is that real footage from Iran? How did you get it? Oh, no. That's video from our testing. Oh, did it have that impact in Iran? No, but this is what it could do. Oh, so it didn't do that. Hey, don't worry. Iran's nuclear capability is obliterated. And then here we are fighting a war, and what Mark Levin and what even the most, the Lindsey Grahams before he passed on to wherever he is now, to the Mitch McConnells and everyone else. Iran cannot have a nuclear bomb.
Well,
that's the bumper sticker, right? I haven't heard Iran cannot control the Strait. Iran must have a regime change. I haven't heard those things. What I've heard is Iran cannot have a nuclear.
He said those two things too, but the cannot have a nuke has been like 10x times more.
Bomb. We cannot prevent Iran from having a nuclear bomb. Not then, not now, based on their goodwill or whoever may give it to them now, because we've shown the world if you are an Arab country and you have oil and you don't have a nuke, you're next on the list. So if you're Iran now, you're like,
yeah, that's sadly true. There's a list. Syria was the one on the list above Iran. It got taken out in December 2024. Then it was Iran's turn. Turkey is underneath Iran on the list. It's there too.
Well, maybe I should have one. The United States can't prevent it unless, and I have kind of an understanding of this in terms of on the ground, because when I was still in special operations, we had one of the missions we had was hard target defeat. Hard target defeat is specifically focused on the reduction or destruction of underground subterranean. We called it the Sub-T mission, subterranean facilities, places like Pickaxe Mountain. And we learned that the only way to go in and defeat a subterranean hard target defeat is boots on the ground. And it is incredibly costly in terms of lives and resources. And I don't think the Donald Trump, I think that's an option. I think Donald Trump sees it as an option. He's like, nope, don't want to do that. Well,
yep, he sees exactly what I was saying before. He looks at the option of boots on the ground and says, yeah, are those nukes over there? Let's do that instead.
Okay, sir, well, your other option is do nothing. And at the same time, you've got Brad Cooper, you got Pete Hegseth saying, hey, the Ferrari sitting in the garage, keys are in it. Who's going to know? Why else?
The entire world's going to know.
In March. We just tested the new B-63 off an F-35 in March.
But you've got similar tests. Yeah, but you've got similar tests.
Mario is just unwilling to accept the possibility that this might happen. Don't you remember, Mario, at the beginning of this war, you were like me, where you were like, I just can't believe Trump was stupid enough to do this, to bomb the Supreme Leader. You remember that, Mario? You just couldn't believe that Trump would do something you found irrational to the extreme? Well, Trump can.
By Russia and China, etc., that would show...
China and Russia are at war with Iran.
I know Russia's at war with Ukraine, but I'm saying they would. These tests are relatively common for preparedness and deterrence. But when you have nukes, you show all these tests to show the capabilities as well. North Korea loves to do them all the time. So I think the test itself doesn't indicate plans to actually use a nuke. A test is just part of the posturing that we see by those countries, including nuclear armed nations. In terms of like Hegseth and all these guys telling them like, hey, there's that Ferrari. I just don't think they use it as a Ferrari. Now, if you say they look at it as a Ferrari, they look at it as that toxic thing that no one wants to utter. That even Trump, Trump, when he's thinking of something, he makes it clear he's thinking of something.
Yeah, and that's why he said, I'm going to use a weapon against Iran that hasn't been used since World War II. Yeah, he says things like that when he's thinking about something.
Thinking of, going to war with Iran. I'm thinking about bombing their energy. I'm going to destroy their energy. So he says what he thinks. Sometimes he obviously always over exaggerates, but he was pretty clear saying we will not use a nuke. Now, in terms of using a nuke to achieve the objective, how else could you destroy their nuclear capabilities? You know, and people listening to this know the only way to destroy Pickaxe Mountain is through a tactical nuke. Many tell me even a tactical nuke is not enough to destroy it unless you put it on.
No, I don't think it will destroy it.
No, a tactical nuke isn't enough to destroy it. Granite mountains. Yeah. And look at the hole. It can make a big hole, but the facilities under Granite Mountain are deeper than that.
I don't think it will actually
There you go.
achieve
There you go.
the effect.
But that's again. So wouldn't Trump be better finding a new missile that is experimental? Okay, call it the discombobulator 2.0.
Before November?
Use that.
Yeah, no way that's happening.
Midterm election.
Midterms.
Yeah, before November, after November, what I mean is he'll come up with a news story. He makes up a missile, makes up the capabilities. It's a missile that you fire, it lands on the ground, it walks into the entrance, looks for the nukes, and blows up by itself. He can make anything up and people believe it. What I mean is that he...
No, Mario. The tolerance of Trump supporters to put up with make-believe nonsense is a lot lower now, and it's going to get lower as this gets higher.
Could achieve his objective of lying that he destroyed their nuclear capabilities without using the only weapon that is bound to destroy not only his legacy, but his presidency, that of his...
Mario, when Trump bombed the supreme leader of Iran, he'd already destroyed all that. Dropping a nuke would double the damage, but his presidency is already in ruins. So he might feel like double or nothing, and he's going to get double the bad.
His family, any future this family could have in politics, and the perception of the U.S. around the world. It's just too many negatives to use a nuke. The only argument that another argument people make that would kind of point towards a nuke. My co-host Brandon Weichert thinks that he's actually considering nukes. The guests he had, Robert Barnes thinks he is. Larry Johnson thinks he is. Who else did I speak to?
Yeah, three big commentators so far that have been right about a lot of things with regard to this Iran war, thinks that Trump might use a nuke. Then you have Anthony Guillar, who is convinced he's going to use a nuke. As for me, yeah, he might use a nuke. Thing is, I was wrong about Trump bombing the supreme leader, and this is, I think, is a decision idiotic on that level. And so I think Trump can do this. Whether it's a high chance, I think it can still be stopped, especially if there's a lot of blowback and there's more leaks and there's big outrage about it. The more outrage there is about the possibility of him using a nuke, the more reporters ask him and get him on record as saying, no, I won't use a nuke, the better off we are.
Yesterday, that things. We didn't speak yesterday, did we? No, we didn't. I spoke to Malcolm Nance. Malcolm Nance said, like, if any president would consider using a nuke, it would be Trump. Now, Malcolm despises Trump, and I don't blame him. But what I mean, the argument they make is that he's crazy enough, he's insane enough to use it.
And I won't use the word crazy or insane. I will use the word irrational.
I will use the word deluded, in that he was deluded about bombing the supreme leader of Iran. He thought that if I do that, then there'll be regime change in 3 days. That's delusion. That's believing something that's not real, a fantasy. If he uses a nuke, it will be because of delusion again. He will believe that magically using a nuke will scare the Iranians into capitulating, surrender, and give Trump everything he wants, and so he won't go down as a major loser of a president. It's delusion. Delusion is the reasoning.
Enough.
You're just
irrational enough, because I agree with every question you are asking yourself. Why not the discombobulator robot ground penetration and just lie to the American people, right? Why not say that we sent in the tinfoil hat commandos?
I need to make one of those
and just show the world. This actually goes with my suit. I think I'll we could tell the American people that this happened.
Yourself, Colonel. You distracted yourself.
And everything's fine, right? That Donald Trump that could just flat out tell the American people as he gets onto Air Force One with the helicopter going and his hair flapping up, oh, it's fine, everything's good. That Donald Trump no longer exists. Everyone is now questioning the truth.
Yes.
And you have some that will go along with what the president wants to do, but even they are questioning the truth sometimes when the president says something.
Diesel prices. Yeah, President, he said he's won the war since back here. Supporters, when diesel prices were here, yeah, they could believe him. Yes, we've won the war. Then diesel prices do this. And now they're like, well, if we won the war, why is diesel price go to from 40 to 100? Why did it do that if we won the war? That doesn't feel like winning a war.
In terms of the president saying, hey, we're in negotiations with Iran. And then Pete Hegseth, before he has an opportunity to see what the president said, and someone says, hey, Secretary Hegseth, how are the negotiations with Iran? We're not negotiating. We're going to bomb them away. Oh, the president just said we're in. What? No. So, huh? What? Hey, sir. What? Who are you in negotiation with? Are you picking up the red phone again? The one they have just connected outside to some guy that says he's Arachi? Like, have you been on the red phone again? So, I don't advocate for.
It's sad. Trump has just started lying so much about everything. Like saying the other day that he was going to make the Straits of Hormuz a U.S. territory. First of all, the Straits of Hormuz, that's a body of water. That's this here. You can't make a body of water a U.S. territory. Maybe the land around it, maybe the islands in it, but the Strait of Hormuz is like it's like saying, I'm going to make the Pacific Ocean a U.S. territory. It's so insane.
Of a tactical nuclear weapon. I think it would be a foolish, irrational idea to do so. But I also think that we are now dealing with a commander-in-chief and a national command authority that is irrational because they do not see a way out of this war. And I do think that Donald Trump can very easily convince himself of the Truman moment. Everyone told Truman the same thing about using it in Japan. This will ruin your legacy. This will change the world. It will give Russia every excuse to use it against their foes in the future. So is using it going to have a lot of consequences? It sure will.
Oh, yes, it will.
It sure will. Will it?
If U.S. uses a tactical nuke against Iran, then Russia is most likely going to use a tactical nuke against Ukraine. Except Russian tactical nukes, the smallest one is as big as Hiroshima.
Achieve the objective that Donald Trump hopes that it will strategically? No, it will not. Will that prevent Donald Trump from doing it? I think not, because we are dealing with now an irrational actor.
I think under Truman, nukes weren't near as taboo as they are now because they've never been used. Now they've become that taboo thing that no one talks about.
Well, after we dropped the first one, there were a lot of people in cabinet that was like, I think this is enough. But all of the scientists in Los Alamos were like, well, that was the fusion one. We don't know how the fission one's going to work. Don't let a good crisis go to waste. Let's use the second one. I mean, the second strike was absolutely not needed. So when I'm not. I think that to use it would be foolish. I'm just looking at I can look at something in terms of what I hope, what I would want, what I believe, and I'm looking at facts as they bear on the problem. We used to call it FBOP, or facts bearing on the problem. You used to start as a military officer. You used to present every problem to a commander with, here's the facts bearing on the problem. Facts bearing on the problem. Is Iran going to capitulate militarily?
No.
Not without a long, hard, costly, bloody war. Is Iran willing to come to the table diplomatically? No, they've been very defiant.
Nope. No, they are willing to come to the table. U.S. just has to fulfill all its part of the MOU first. Unfreeze the assets, lift the sanctions, withdraw troops from the region, and then Iran is willing to talk. It's willing to talk. It's just not willing to talk as long as the United States has done nothing.
Unless they get what they want. Unless they get what they want.
Unless they get everything they want.
They'll come to the diplomatic table. They'll come for sure. Just give us what we were asking for.
I think we've seen now from the latest comments from Arachi and from the IRGC that Iran has become very maximalist. Well, Donald Trump has also become very maximalist. So when you take, and I think maximalist approach is irrational. I don't say
it's not irrational. Iran's demands were less severe when diesel was back here, when there wasn't a huge impending problem. Now Trump restarted the war, threw away the MOU, and diesel prices have skyrocketed. Iran's position is just much, much better than it was 3 months ago. So now they're asking for more.
Say irrational to mean like, oh, you're stupid or you
Damn,
don't know
yeah,
how to think.
damn.
I mean irrational in terms of you have rational actors and you have irrational actors, and at times one can be both or the either. And I think right now we have Iran acting irrationally in terms of outcomes. Maximalist demands never achieve their full effect. And we have the United States being irrational in terms of demanding maximalist outcomes. And irrationality.
Yes, Trump is demanding Iran surrender. That's basically been Trump's position since the beginning. And it's completely insane, given that Iran controls Strait of Hormuz, has the world economy by the balls, and has destroyed a huge number of U.S. bases in the region, depleted U.S. ammunitions to dangerous levels. Yeah.
Butting heads leads to irrational action. Donald Trump happens to have a full... If we only had the nuclear triad, I would say never. No way. Someone would take the biscuit away from the president. It's actually called that. You can look it up. The president's key code is the biscuit.
What he's talking about there, again, is for the nukes that are in silos, or in strategic bombers, or in nuclear submarines that are part of our strategic nuclear arsenal, that for the mutual destruction with China and Russia. The only way to launch those is with the biscuit, something that spits out codes that can be used to launch them. And that is more secure. That he's confident someone would stop President Trump from using. Thank God, because those are big nukes. Those are World War III annihilation. Everyone dies nukes. The tactical nukes, the controls over those are much less strict.
I had someone on the show that was holding the nuclear football under a previous president. I can't remember who.
Yeah, so they know, in that football, it's not like an anti-decoder ring. It's a machine that processes the PCLs for the gold codes onto the biscuit for the president then to go. So it's like a credit card machine on the go that changes every 24 hours. So
like that two-factor authentication app you have on your phone that you use to sign into Discord or whatever. That's what the biscuit is, a more elaborate version of that.
When you look at that in terms of, could someone easily give the president the wrong biscuit? Oops, sorry. There's ways you can prevent that. In the use of a tactical nuclear weapon, there is no secret double keys.
There's much less people involved in the launching of the nukes, in tactical nukes. So much less people that can have a moral conscience and try to prevent it.
There's maiden name. The PCLs can be deactivated, which they already have on the B-63. So could right now, this is what I believe based on my experience. Password hint, password 123, right? Trump's password is MAGA 2028. Who would have guessed? So, you know what? There's someone in the White House changing it right now. They're like, they're on to us. Oh, it actually is. Oops. So when you look at the authorities of a geographic combatant commander such as Brad Cooper, he has authorities up to the use of certain military authorization up at his level. I firmly believe that the authorization for the use of a tactical nuclear weapon, specifically the B-63 Alpha, because it is more precise and it has been recently tested and it's primed and ready, is the option that has been leveraged to Brad Cooper. I don't think Brad Cooper has been given the royal keys to the kingdom of the entire nuclear arsenal. No, he's not holding the football or the biscuit.
But a nuke is a nuke for the purposes of being used in war. Whether it's tactical nuke or big nuke, it won't make a difference. You drop that on Iran, nukes have been used in war. It opens the Pandora's box. And nukes will be used in other places. And it will be a disaster. And there will be nuclear fallout.
I think he's been given authorization for a very specific time, target, and place. And most importantly, he's been tasked with a joint staff to start planning for it. And that's how I think Marjorie Taylor Greene got word of it. Because remember, she's no longer a sitting congressman. However, once you start giving plans to the joint staff in the Pentagon, people
so that's how Marjorie Taylor Greene got wind of it, is that he started setting up a task group to plan a nuclear strike on Iran. Once that plan is finalized and shared, there'll be even more leaks about Trump using a nuke. Please, because that might stop it. Because for the love of God, we need to stop this.
Talk.
I've got, obviously, Joe Kent is very close to Marjorie. I think he's coming on tomorrow, so I'll ask him about this. And I
Well,
pinged
Marjorie, Joe Kent's spouse, Tucker
Yeah.
Carlson all had a big little bonanza up in Maine last weekend.
and,
so I'm
and
sure they'll talk
Massey,
about
yeah.
this.
Yeah, I'll ask Joe about it tomorrow.
Don't think that wasn't on the table of discussion.
Yeah. We'll see. I've also asked Marjorie to come on the show, so we're trying to find the best time to ask you about
That'd be
it.
awesome. I think she could probably give more insight. Mine is just my educated analysis. I'm pretty sure they actually know things.
No, but you give us a military analysis of how it would look like and why and the reasoning behind it.
I'm just saying it because of the options available to the president. Like,
Yeah.
if the president could Moab Pickaxe Mountain into the ground, I think he would. We don't have enough of those munitions. How are we going to get it there? The great raid of the Operation Midnight Hammer was successful because of the surprise action. We no longer have that surprise. That would not be as successful. And I think that Donald Trump would much more be willing to take the backlash of, I used the nuke, I did what Obama and Biden couldn't do. I'm the only president willing to do it. Put me on Mount Rushmore. Look how great I am, etc. Right? As opposed to losing a B-2 bomber. That would be a stain on the legacy.
Yeah. Thanks for jumping on.
This was a great interview. Slightly terrifying, but great interview. And I will just say this. Fuck Trump if he uses a nuke. I mean, honestly, I will not be trying to defend him in any way after that. I mean, bombing the Supreme Leader was bad enough. It's what's got us into this horrible mess. Making it twice as worse by using a nuke? What the fuck? He hasn't done it yet, so I can't yell at him too much yet. But believe you me, I will be yelling at Trump if this actually happens. Oh. So that's the terrifying video for today. This will be on YouTube. Like and subscribe. Come watch on Kick or Twitch. And I'll see you in the next video. Bye.